our annual kickoff luncheon and silent auction. Today, as you know, we're honoring our very good friend and mentor, Betty Ted, and she's right over here. You know, the only way we can keep our garden blooming is you all coming to these events. And so I really appreciate it. The whole society appreciates it. It's really cool, though, that we have some visitors today. You know, we are an international society, and because we are an international society, we have an international visitor, Mr. Well, I want to say Willie, but I know that's not how you say it, Huffnagel, from, and I messed that one up too, huh? And he's from Austria. 22 hours worth of flight time to get here. Wow. So we really appreciate that very, very much. We also have James Nicholas, and he is our international correspondent. And James is able to speak several languages, especially German. And so he's able to interpret so many of the books that we get to look at that come from the international members. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to sit down, we're going to have a beautiful lunch, and then we're going to, like I said, you can just take care of your auction items. And then we'll have some program, and we'll just see how things go. So let's eat.
We're gonna go see how many people have outbid me.
I just wanted to read you a little bit. If you'll notice, I left packages on your table, and this presentation is all about, well, it started out to be kind of a history of the Oleander in the old world and what's going on now in Europe. But as the presentation evolved, it also kind of became some observations on the connections between Galveston and Europe and how Galveston is viewed. So what I wanted to read you was a little bit of an excerpt from a book which was published in Hungary a couple of years ago. So I told the author that I would let you hear a little bit of her native language, and then I'll tell you what it says. Az amerikai kontinensre először a spanyol emigránsok közvetítéséből kezdtek át az emberek az 1600-as években. Joseph Osterman, kereskedő, 1804-ben Jamaica-ból vitte az első leándereket ajándékként a feleségének és a nővérének az Egyesült Államokba Galveston szigetére. A nővérén Mrs. Isidore Dyer kezdte szaporítani és terjeszteni a rokonai és az ismerősei között ezt a növényet, meghonosítva és megalapozva a sziget későbbi hímnevét és a tengerparti bőséges leányzégeteket. Attól kezdve Galveston igazi kincse lett. Hasonlóan az itáliai Pompei végnapjaihoz és a pusztításához, ahol szintén tisztelték és szerették a leándereket, 1900-ban egy hurrikán a teljes Galveston szigetet leromolta, rengeteg ember halálát okozva és elpusztítva a házakat, a teljes növényzetet. Legelőször azonban a leánderek regenerálódtak és fejlődtek újra a pusztítás után. Azóta az újjászületés és az élet szimbólumának tekintik a szigeten. Körül 100 féle fajtája tavasztól a parkokban, a tengerparton, a hotelek és a régi házak környékén. I have been a member of the Oleander Society for 23 years, for those who I've never met. And I've been growing oleanders in containers for just about as long. 12 years ago, I stood in this very spot and I gave a little talk to the Oleander Society entitled, "It's a Small World, How Oleanders Made It That Way." Now, that title may have been a little tongue-in-cheek, but since that time, our world, and the Oleander world in particular, became smaller and more connected than I ever could have imagined at that time. So you heard Hungarian, which is a non-Indo-European language brought into Europe by wild nomadic horsemen from Central Asia. They terrorized Europe during the Middle Ages, but eventually they settled down after discovering that coffee, chocolate, and whipped cream were much more enjoyable than raiding and pillaging, if not as cardiac healthy. Okay, so here's the translation. You have it in front of you. You'll notice a page written in an Ishkabibble language, okay, with a picture of Cupidino and Clarence Pleasance on it. And it says, "It was Spanish immigrants who first brought the oleander to the American continent in the 1600s. In 1841, Joseph Osteron, a businessman, brought the plant from Jamaica to Galveston Island in the USA. His sister-in-law, Mrs. Isidore Dyer, began distributing this new plant among her relatives and acquaintances, establishing it in its new home and laying the foundation for the city's future fame, as well as the abundant oleander plantings along the seashore. Since that time, the oleander has become Galveston's true treasure." Similarly to the destruction of Pompeii in Italy, where the oleander was likewise revered and loved, the entire island of Galveston was devastated by a hurricane in 1900. It caused a huge number of human deaths and destroyed the houses and all the vegetation. However, the oleanders were the first plant to regenerate and grow back after the destruction, and since that time, it has been regarded on the island as the symbol of rebirth and life. About 100 different varieties bloom from springtime onward in the parks, along the shore, around the hotels, and in the grounds of the old houses. In Central Europe, the oleander has been grown as a container plant for about 500 years. Today, it's the most popular container plant in Germany, the sunnier parts of Austria, and especially in Hungary. The passion for it in Hungary has reached the level of a national craze, in fact. I read this excerpt in order to give you an idea of just how far Galveston's fame has spread. Think about this. Galveston is known as the Oleander City in a small country 6,000 miles away from here and 1/8 the size of the state of Texas. Your town is regarded and revered as a mecca for oleander fans abroad. We'll be talking more about that reputation and its responsibilities in just a moment. Right now, I want to introduce a very distinguished guest, also from Central Europe, Mr. Wilhelm Hufnagel. He is the driving force behind the creation of the Oleander House and the Oleander Village of Rax, Demmersdorf in Austria. Mr. Hufnagel has had a multifaceted career. He was trained in meteorology and geophysics. He's worked as an air traffic controller at Vienna's International Airport. He's been a film director and the owner of a film company. He's been a publisher. So in retirement, he never retires. He's full of energy. He founded the Oleander House as an association for oleander enthusiasts. The Oleander is also a physical location. There is a house with an oleander garden and an annual festival, which is inspired by Galveston's. Okay, this will be the 3rd year. Okay, its mission is to provide information about the care, hybridization, propagation, and overwintering of oleanders. Now, the Oleander House also has a very ambitious goal, and that is to maintain a backup copy of the unique Galveston varieties in this Austrian refuge in order to preserve the genetic material and also to preserve the memory and the history of the Galveston citizens whose names they bear. And that's also something we're talking about. So William has come as a sort of European ambassador of the Oleander. His idea was to help make today's event a sort of arc spanning time and space. We're bringing gifts and greetings from the Oleander communities in Austria, Hungary, Greece, and as far away as Japan. So please welcome, join me in welcoming Mr. Wilhelm Hufnagel of the Oleander House.
So, ladies and gentlemen, my English is not very good, so everything I want to say, I prefer to say in German. in Austrian German, and Jim would be so kind and translate. So I had to say something about my mission, and I say it in German. So I had to put my glasses, then I can better read. So. In der Region in Mitteleuropa, wo ich lebe, gibt es seit Jahrhunderten eine Oleander-Tradition. Oleander werden in Töpfen, in Bottichen und in Fässern gehalten, denn die Winter sind zu kalt, frei ausgesetzt würden Oleander nicht überleben. Man liebt Oleander und man findet sie fast überall. In Gärten, auf Terrassen, in Innenhöfen, in Gastgärten und auf öffentlichen Plätzen in Städten. Die Tradition kommt von adeligen Bevölkerungskreisen früherer Jahrhunderte, die es sich leisten konnten, schöne Gärten mit südländischen Pflanzen anzulegen. In jüngerer Zeit verkörpert der Oleander den Traum vom Süden: Wärme, Sonne, Strand, Meer, also das, wo Mitteleuropäer und Nordeuropäer meistens gerne auf Urlaub hinfahren. In die Länder rund um das Mittelmeer. In den Ländern Südeuropas und Nordafrikas muss man Oleander allerdings nicht vor einem zu kalten Winter schützen. Sie werden einfach angepflanzt, wachsen fast überall und sind praktisch allgegenwärtig. In meiner Heimat, in Österreich, im Bundesland Burgenland, geht die Verbundenheit mit Oleandern so weit, dass man sogar, Anführungszeichen, vom burgenländischen Oleander spricht. Gemeint sind damit die alten, einfach und gefühlt blühenden Sorten rosa und weiß. Man nennt sie auch die Schlosspark-Oleander, gezüchtet für Schlossgärten. Man hat sie von den Eltern übernommen oder durch Stecklinge vermehrt. Der Nachteil dieser Oleander: sie werden sehr groß und über kurz oder lang sind sie sehr schwer zu handhaben. Millionen Oleander, die man im Supermarkt kauft, namenlos, künstlich klein gehalten, überleben meistens nicht lange. Should I end here? Okay, thank you.
In the region of Central Europe where I live, there has been an oleander tradition for centuries. Oleanders are grown in pots, in tubs, and in barrels. The winters here are too cold. Oleanders planted outside will not survive. People love their oleanders, and they're found almost everywhere, in gardens, in terraces, in inner courtyards, in open-air restaurants, and in public squares in the towns and cities. This tradition stems from the noble classes of earlier centuries who could afford to have beautiful gardens created with plants from southern climes. In more recent times, the oleander embodies the dream of the South: warmth, sun, beach, and sea, where Central and Northern Europeans most like to go for vacation. In the countries around the Mediterranean, the nations of Southern Europe and North Africa, oleanders don't have to be protected from winters which are too cold. Of course, they simply get planted, they grow almost everywhere, and they're ubiquitous. In my home region of Austria, in the state of Burgenland, the connection with oleanders is so far-reaching that people even refer to the Burgenland oleander. By this, they mean the old single and double flowering varieties in pink and white. They're also called Schlosspark oleander or Castle Park oleanders, as they were originally raised and bred for people who had palace gardens. People inherit these oleanders from their parents, or they propagate them from cuttings. The disadvantage of these oleanders is that they get very large, and sooner or later they're very difficult to handle and deal with. The millions of oleanders that people buy in the supermarket, unidentified by name and kept artificially small by growth regulators, usually don't survive long. All of this also describes the state of knowledge about the oleander. In general, people don't know much more. So, I am trying to establish a connection to the American oleander culture. Oleander connoisseurs and collectors know very well that there is an oleander tradition in the southern USA, and that Galveston, the oleander city, is the center of this tradition, and that the International Oleander Society has devoted itself to the nurturing of this tradition and of the varieties that have originated there. And some American cultivars are even represented in European collections and nurseries. We know that Jim Nicholas was not totally uninvolved in the introduction, not to say smuggling, of American varieties into Europe. I wasn't the only one, though. There is a valid reason why we should involve ourselves more with American oleander varieties. The old, traditional European cultivars are huge. Only in more recent times have French and Italian nurseries created smaller growing varieties. However, there are a number of American cultivars which are small to medium in growth habit and which are actually barely or not at all represented here in Europe. With that, I come around to the statistical work which I brought with me and am additionally presenting. From this work, which at the moment contains the names of 575 oleanders, it is clear that a large number of American varieties in Europe aren't mentioned in the literature, do not appear in collectors' lists, and are not offered for sale by nurseries or dealers. To a certain extent, the reverse is also true. A whole series of European cultivars don't seem to be represented in the USA. These facts, of course, do not take into account whether, despite this, oleander varieties are known to specialists, even though they don't appear anywhere else. With the introduction and the presentation of this oleander list, I would like to lay the foundation for a collaboration between us in the future. So Willy has compiled what he calls a tabella, or an index or list of oleander cultivars in Europe. In fact, his ambition is to create a catalog which is open and can continually be revised with information about their origin, who bred them, who has them, where they're located. And so he would like to present this as a gift to the Oleander Society with the hope that we will continue to expand and work on this list. Who should receive this?
I would like Betty.
Okay. Okay. Would you accept this, Betty, on behalf of the Oleander Society? Part of our library.
That means I not only bring gifts to you, I bring something to wear. Excuse me.
We can give you some work too.
I have a feeling I know who's going to be doing a lot. I have a feeling I know who's going to be doing a lot of this work.
And now I want to show how many iPods, how much is this includes?
Ja, ich habe das Verzeichnis hast.
Ist das wohl dabei? Okay.
575 names. We're actually going to show you the list, page by page, taped together. Unfortunately, I believe I forgot it in the motel room, but we can put it in the Oleander Museum.
Yes, it is a long list. I take one
Every
side and put it on the number. It was 4 meters.
Europe and Asia. Not Europe, Asia, Europe and Asia.
10 foot long.
575 names are here listed, and who and where are they? This is in this folder, and the names for the societies Gosis. Videolysis, for instance, schaut, wer das wirklich sozusagen hat.
Yeah, so this list is annotated by variety name and coded as to where the varieties are located, where they first appeared, where they're referred to. So this is a research work which is ongoing.
We had worked on that somewhat.
We're going to be combining efforts. That's something that I can foresee in the future. We have other gifts and messages as well. One of the people who is sort of how would you beschreiben? Mitglied. Among the messages and greetings to the Oleander Society from Europe and Asia is this one from Mrs. Irmtraut Gotsis. Maybe some of you recognize that name from some of the newsletters. She is another native of Vienna, but she has lived in Greece for the past 30 years. You may have seen her compilation of articles that tells my Oleander story on the website, and if you haven't, you need to read it. I translated all 75 pages for you. It contains many anecdotes and observations about how she basically learned to become a gardener by trial and error. Many errors. It's quite funny and quite charming. But she is a self-taught gardener, and she's created many outstanding new varieties which are named after figures in Greek mythology as a tribute to her adopted country and the land in which they originated. So I'm going to ask Freddy to read you her greeting as well, so that you would hear the easygoing sounds of Austrian German once again, and then I'll let you know what she said. If you look at the packet that I left on your table, you're going to see many of these new varieties with their names are indicated: Aphrodite, Entropi, Alonis, and some others. So these are new varieties from Greece. So here's Mrs. Irmtraut Gotsis' greeting to you.
Die Grußbotschaft von Irmtraut. Liebe Galvestoner Oleanderfreunde, fast glaube ich, dass der Oleander für uns nicht nur eine Pflanze schlechthin ist. Sie erinnert an den ewigen Kreislauf der Natur. Die Funken, die sie uns daraus sendet, sie begeistern uns. So freuen wir uns an ihrer Wandlungsfähigkeit in Blüte und Habitus und werden nicht müde, immer wieder ihre neu entstandenen Samen anzubauen. Wer kann schon sagen, welches neue Wunder auf uns wartet? Vor vielen Jahren schon waren Mrs. Head und ich der Meinung, dass sich unsere Klimabereiche recht ähnlich sind, zumindest am südwestlichen Peloponnes. Naja, noch haben wir keine Hurrikans, bitte nicht. Aber was nicht ist, das kann noch werden. Auch im Namen des Oleanders meine tiefe Dankbarkeit an Mrs. Head für ihren unermüdlichen Einsatz. Ich wünsche Ihnen allen ein unvergessliches Oleanderfest. Ihre Irmtraut Gotsis. Postskriptum, nochmals vielen Dank für Ihre Genesungswünsche.
Dear Galveston Oleander friends, I almost think that for us, the oleander is not just simply a plant. It reminds us of the eternal cycle of nature. The sparks that it sends out enliven and excite us. We take joy in its diversity of blossom and growth habit and never grow tired of planting seeds anew. Who can say what new wonders await us? Even many years ago, Mrs. Head and I were of the opinion that our climates were quite similar, at least in the southwest Peloponnesus. Well, we haven't had any hurricanes yet, God forbid. Even though it hasn't happened yet, there's always a first time. But in the name of the oleander, I want to express my deepest gratitude to Mrs. Head for her tireless activity. I wish you all an unforgettable Oleander Festival. Yours, Mrs. Irmtraut Gotsis. Hungary comes this greeting from Marian Hamori, the author of the two magnificent books, of which you've seen excerpts. We also have copies of those books which we can pass around. This is what's been going on among the Hungarian oleander crazies, and you can see spectacular new and unusual achievements are coming out of Hungary these days. Kedves hölgyek és urak, tisztelt Elizabeth, városi hivatalosok és Oleander barátok! Nagy szeretettel küldjük az üdvözletüket Magyarországról, Európa szívéből. Bár csak egy kis ország vagyunk, mégis annál lelkesebb és elhivatottabb nép vagyunk, és ez megmutatkozik a gyűjtői szenvedélyünkben és a Oleander csodálatokban is. Bármerre tekintünk, nagyon sok barátság és emberi kapcsolat szövődött már a szeretett virágaink révén, nem csak hazánkban, hanem szerte a világban. Külön köszönöm Jimnek, akinek a nyelvismerete és a Oleander szeretete igazi hidat képez közöttünk. Dear ladies and gentlemen, most esteemed Elizabeth, dear city officials and friends of the Oleander, it is with great love that we send our greetings from Hungary in the heart of Europe. Although we're just a small country, we are a pretty high-spirited and dedicated people, and this shows in our passion for collecting and in our admiration for the oleander. Wherever we look, great friendships and human relationships have been woven by our beloved flower, not only in our own country, but all over the world. Special thanks to Jim, who through his linguistic knowledge and his love of the oleander has truly built a bridge between us. The oleander as an ornamental plant has been known in Hungary since the 15th or 16th century, but it is only during the past 20 or 30 years that we have become really crazy collectors and admirers of it. At the present time in Hungary, there are many amateur collectors who are engaged on a high level in collecting, propagation, and even creating new varieties by planting seeds. While there are only one or two professional nurseries involved, a large number of our hobby gardeners are boldly exploring the field at a specialist level of activity and knowledge. There is a well-known saying that while the spoken word may die away, the written word remains. In the present era, we consider it very important that scholarly material pertaining to the oleander, verbally transmitted information, and experience be pinned down at a high level so that it can be inherited by future generations. There is still a big problem with nomenclature and with the inability to research the origin of cultivars. We don't know the exact origins of many varieties, the identity of the person who raised them, or the information and history associated with them. A living, expandable, computer-based World Oleander Catalog should be compiled with the collaboration of the International Oleander Society, in which every old and new cultivar, as well as those new cultivars with unique flowers which may appear in the future, can be registered with their photos and most important identifying characteristics, as well as their place of origin, date, parent plant, breeder's name, etc. The love of beauty transcends peoples and nations. All of us throughout the world feel that same love when we gaze upon our oleanders. On behalf of the oleander nuts, we wish you all the best of health, much joy in growing your beloved flowers, and more new and special American varieties which will add to our shared joy. Marian Hamori. On a more serious note, Marian had this to say in a communication dated March 4th of this year. Please, when you visit Galveston, send greetings from the crazy Hungarian oleander fans. It would be a good idea to pin this knowledge down, this historical information, which right now is only spread via oral tradition in the USA. It should be recorded for posterity before the knowledge disappears. Today, I spent an hour walking around the cemetery, Trinity Episcopal Church, and saw the names of many of the people whose names I know only from oleander varieties. These are your famous citizens. We want to make sure that their memory is preserved. We want to know what they did, who they were, when they lived, so that the names associated with oleanders are not just names, but they're people whose memory was on. From Mrs. June Makino, a native of Japan who resides in Austria and who has participated in the last 2 Oleander festivals in Austria. As a performer, we have this message. I should preface this with a little background. In 1974, the then mayor of Hiroshima was reminiscing about the nuclear holocaust. And in his words, it was said that no tree would grow again here for 75 years. But 3 months later, a white oleander bloomed among the rubble, giving us the will to survive and hope for the future. So, to the International Oleander Society, these are June's words on Algin. I would like to express my admiration to your peaceful and powerful Oleander organization. I am a friend of Mr. Willy Hufnagel and the town of Rax, where a wonderful Oleander feast takes place since 2013. The first flower that grew in Hiroshima after the tragical nuclear bombs must have given the first courage to survive for people as well as in Galveston. This miracle flower brings us one of the most important messages from God. What happened in Fukushima is much worse than imagined and hard to understand. Who knows if and when Fukushima or Tokyo or any other places in the world one day need oleander flower blooming just like Hiroshima and Galveston. I appreciate your excellent work with Oleander Organization highly and hope you to keep on your good job so that we can pray for the world peace together. June Makino. We also have a copy of the text in Japanese, which we will be presenting to just a little brief history of the oleander in Europe. As you know, the oleander was cultivated or known in Greece by my ancestors 2,500 years ago. It was associated with moist places. The word nerium is derived from the Greek neros, meaning moist, nero, meaning water. Nerefs was the sea god. His millions of daughters were called Nereides. Okay, and as you know, altars were built to honor the god of the sea and his many daughters. The ancient Greeks referred to the oleander with the name rhododendron, which means rose tree. Of course, today that name is applied to a plant in the heath family, the azalea. Rhododaphne, rose laurel, which name has also been translated into many languages. Today, the oleander is called in modern Greek pikrodaphne, which means bitter laurel. I know for a fact it's bitter. I tested it. With a glass of water close by. So the plant was known, of course, to the ancients. The first depiction of the oleander that we know about is in the throne room at the Minoan Palace at Knossos in Crete, dating from about 1500 BC. There was a physician who lived during the 1st century AD by the name of Dioscorides. He was from Asia Minor, but he served under Roman emperors. Not too pleasant people. Nero was one of them. He was an author of a book of medicine, which became the standard handbook of medicine until the advent of the modern age. Okay, and among the descriptions in there, he refers to the nerion. Some call it rhododaphne, others rhododendron. The Romans, oleandrum. Also, lauro rosa, a well-known shrub with leaves which are larger and thicker than those of the almond. The blossom is like that of the rose. It bears a fruit which looks like horns. When it opens, it's filled with a wool-like material similar to the tuft of hair on the bull thistle. The oleander came to Germany as early as the 16th century. Because it was evergreen and frost sensitive, it could only be grown in containers. Its Italian name, Oleandro, which was derived from the Middle Latin laureandrum, meaning laurel-like, or oleandrum, meaning resembling the olive tree, was adapted into the German language as oleander. The plant was mentioned in 1539. In 1543, it was already being raised in gardens, although it was very rare. In 1547, a white-flowered form was found in Gavais in Crete. This discovery was a sensation, as up to that time only the single pink flower, or possibly the single red, was known. Very quickly it spread throughout Italy, and from there throughout all of Europe. In 1561, it was listed under its classical name, Rhododendron or Rhododendron by Gessner. In 1594, it appeared in the Scholzesch garden in Breslau. It showed up in England as early as 1561. In 1683, a pair of Dutchmen, Van Rede and Todt Drakenstein, introduced a new double oleander from southwest India. In 1689, more different double-flowered forms came to Leiden in Holland. There are dates and dates and dates and dates, but we see there's an oleander tradition going on from very, very early times in Europe. Today, we can look at a 400-year history of the development and hybridization of the oleander. In the 19th century, the oleander was already a widely distributed and popular summer container plant for house and garden. In 1819, the first series of 36 porcelain plates with floral motifs was produced by the Viennese porcelain factory, commissioned by the Imperial Habsburg family. The oleander also won a place here. The double pink blossom illustrated was called Neriostriata, and the number of floral plates eventually reached 96. They served as dessert plates when the imperial table was set. And a double pink blossom with white stripes, what does that sound like? Double pink with white stripes. In 1840, 36 oleander varieties were offered for sale in Germany. This number had increased to 58 10 years later. The color yellow appeared in 1819, again a sensation. Between 1868 and 1898, the nursery of Claude Zahut in Montpellier, France, offered 170 cultivars in their catalog. In 1888, Vincent van Gogh painted the oleander. For more than 100 years, the Scarabatti nursery in Padua has been involved in breeding. Gambetta and Baldacci are other nurseries in Europe that have specialized in the oleander for a century. Today, several nurseries are active on the French Riviera, also in northern Italy. Okay, so we have a tremendously long history of the oleander in Europe, grown in pots. And that work continues to grow today. I won't say too much about it, but you've seen the new varieties that have come out of Greece, the incredible series of varieties that are coming out from amateur gardeners in Hungary. Many of them yellow varieties. So have a look at the books, pass them around. This is what's going on. The oleander is very, very big in Europe. It's the most popular container and tub plant. Every balcony has to have one. Every house has to have one. And again, people know about Galveston in Europe. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are worthy of that recognition and that we work to preserve the memory of your citizens who planted, revivified the island after the storm, replanted the vegetation, and were responsible for introducing all of these varieties. So in their memory, I also give my greetings from the northeast of the U.S. to you and hope that we can really start to preserve this wonderful historical tradition of Galveston. The Europeans are asking us to do it. Thank you. We did say we were bringing not only greetings, but gifts. So one of Willy's associates at the Oleander House in Austria is an artist by the name of Sophia Brandner. She is multi-talented. One of her specialties is watercolor paintings of oleanders. Now, a favorite oleander in Europe is Kewpie. Much sought after, very, very popular. And she has painted Kewpie and sent a copy to be presented to the family of Kyubi-Gaido. I will be accepted for the family of Kyubi-Gaido. Please stand up.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
So, but the second one, I have here, and this is for Jim Nicholas. Come here, please. Ich möchte sagen, es ist eher von für
Just, on behalf of the Geiger family, thank you so much for bringing this over here. It's a long track from Austria to come, but
Und ich bin dankbar, dass es zu organisieren war. Das also die Gregor konnte das leider nicht tun, aber das ist eben gut, dass das viele Dinge
absolutely. We don't have a spray that will hang in our family business. I don't know if he's familiar with that, but we're hanging the business for sure in her honor. So thank you very much. I don't know, many of you probably knew my grandmother. I just have to say for a minute, these colors are absolutely beautiful. And not only does it depict the beauty of the oleander itself, but I think of Kewpie's personality, her colorful personality. So I got a kick out of that. It's really neat. Thank you. I think Kewpie would be just tickled to see how well the International Oleander Society has done and where you all are today. And, the direction that you're going. I think it's fantastic. And thank you very much. It's really beautiful.
From Marianne Hamori in Hungary, we have a presentation copy of her new book, Oleander Luncheon, which means Oleander Miracles. And these are all photos from her collection. 170 approximately in a climate like mine, with snow in the winter. What is really special about this book is not only the picture of Kyubi-Gaido and Clarence Pleasance and a little history of Galveston and its significance, but also if you'll leaf through its pages, and I'm going to pass around some copies, you'll see how many Galveston varieties are in there with the names of your famous citizens. I think you'll be very proud to see just how far they've gone and how their fame has spread. So this particular copy was donated by Marianne Hamori to the International Oleander Society, and we hope that it will be hold an honored place in the library. I'm going to pass it around. Well, first I'd like to present it to Elizabeth, who also has a copy of her own.
Beautiful. I'll tell you. You can spend a long time looking through it. Gorgeous book.
But you won't spend a long time reading it.
When we go to Ghana, I'll know where that comes from.
The language.
We're going to bring it to the back first so that you guys don't have to wait.
Don't go away yet. We have another president. We have another president. We have another present for Betty Head herself. This is a copy of the German language book, Oleander. This is a classic in Germany. It is a specialist book. And we have a dedication here. Dear Betty, our best wishes from the European Oleander community, from Imtraut, and from the Oleander House, presented to Betty by Willy Hofnath.
Beautiful already on the cover. Thank you so much.
Well, I know that's a hard act to follow, but I do have some information. A lot of people ask us all the time, when are we going to replace those oleanders on the median? Well, we've been working with the Texas Highway Department, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen in August, which is the beginning of their fiscal year, the Highway Department's fiscal year. We are scheduled to be part of their budget to plant oleanders and palm trees as you come into Galveston. It's going to be beautiful.
It's been a long battle.
It has been. So, on these occasions, you always have a gift for the person that we're honoring. Well, Betty, we looked high, we looked low, and geez, and we said, well, you know, she probably has one of everything, has given them away. So anyway, I'm going to ask Lynette to come up here and give you our present.
Okay, so kind of the icing on the cake here as we are honoring Betty here at our luncheon today. And I have the pleasure and the honor of reading an official proclamation from the International Oleander Society on this first day of May 2015. Whereas the International Oleander Society has approximately 200 members worldwide representing 18 countries, and was founded and established in 1967 in Galveston, Texas, by a group of citizens dedicated to maintaining Galveston's fame as the Oleander City, and with the purpose of perpetuating and describing the many varieties of oleanders found on Galveston Island. Whereas the International Oleander Society is a nonprofit organization and a scientific and horticultural corporation dedicated to promote, carry on, and aid in every way the development, improvement, and preservation of oleanders, or nerium, of all kinds, including their importation and improvement by cultivation and hybridization, and to extend the knowledge, production, use, and appreciation of oleanders in any kind and in any manner. Whereas in the 1920s, Galveston, Texas became known as the Oleander City, and in the 1980s, Mayor Jan Coggeshall designated the oleander as the official flower of the city of Galveston. Whereas in the year 2015, the International Oleander Society once again celebrates the wonderful world of oleanders with its annual Oleander Festival. Whereas the International Oleander Society has established the Oleander Garden Park at 27th and Sealy Avenues in Galveston, Texas, for the purpose of providing for the citizens of Galveston and the world the opportunity to observe, study, and enjoy the widest variety possible of beautiful oleanders growing in their natural habitat, and preserving these oleanders for the benefit of future generations. Now therefore, the International Oleander Society does hereby proclaim that the Oleander Garden Park at 27th and Sealy in Galveston, Texas, be heretofore, from this day forward, known to all as Betty Head Oleander Garden Park. And we hereby proclaim the day of May 1st, 2015 as Betty Head Oleander Garden Park Day.
It's only possible that we have the park because of the generous people of some of the original families of Galveston, and that's the Seelys and the Moody's and Kepners that gave us grants, the Trude Foundation. She was a member of the society and left in her will money for that. So I'm really honored to be on the board. Now you all have to come visit the park. If you haven't been there, you're missing something.
Okay.